if you could just give people a 30-second, 60-second rundown about who you are, what you do, and how old you are and what you just did, bro. That would make everybody
So
an idea of where you're at and where you've been.
yeah, gotcha. So my name's Alexis. I started off in entrepreneurship. I started off on selling on Amazon, and I started scaling a lot with my friend James, and a lot of profits. And then we started realizing that we needed to invest money. So the goal was always to invest money into like bigger things. So obviously, when you think about investing, like real estate is always the first thing that comes to mind. And I was I was trying to invest in real estate, but in California. And then it was super difficult for me to try to invest in California just because like they make it so difficult for me or for other people to buy. You know, you need to have like tax returns and pay stubs and just a bunch of other stuff. And then what was also like mind blown was like you had to put 20% down. And in California, like bro, like the houses here in California, they're not the best and like they cost like almost like $1 million, you know, and it's a one story, it's in a bad neighborhood, and then bro, 20% down in California, that's 100K, you
Minimum.
know. So it was very difficult for me to try and invest money in real estate here in California, especially in Oxnard. That's the city that we live in, and it's pretty difficult.
100%. And that's what's dope though, is that you're obviously doing the same city as me, and we're obviously both in Ohio doing our thing. And then when you first came across, obviously buying in California, was the main thing that held you back kind of like the fuck? Not only necessarily just like the amount of return you would make on such a high investment. Was it like the paperwork? You're like, fuck, I really need all of this, or what was kind of holding you back on that end? Besides that,
It was the fact that I wanted to do it on my own, right? Like I didn't want nobody to co-sign for me. I didn't want like, I tried to ask for like family to like sign or, and nobody really wanted to do it. I know that's like a tough thing to do. It's a big responsibility. So I think doing that, I think that the entry level is very high. The entry level to try to buy property in California is like you have to be like making like a lot of money and a lot of documents required for you to buy. Not only
do
that,
you?
but it's also risky because like the property is for a first timer, bro, like a $300,000-400,000 like home, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's why. I remember you were. I was telling you that I was like, look, you start with this. That's 6 grand mortgage that you might have to front for 1 month if something happens. You rather learn with that, you want to learn with this type shit.
Right.
And then when you first synced up with me and you were hearing about the whole Section 8 thing, how did you kind of feel about it? Were you like, oh, like, this makes sense for you? You kind of like a little bit on the fence. You're like, I just want to do more due diligence on it.
You know when you told me about it, like the part that like stunned me was like that I don't get to see it. That was the part. And secondly, that it was out of state. So it was kind of like how do you manage a property you can't see and you can't be there physically? That was the part that was like a little off. I was like, how does that even work? Or how do you manage something like that without seeing it? How do you buy it? How do you know if it's a good property or not? You know, I think that one was the where I was a little stunned
Yeah, and then
for
once
sure.
you fucking hopped over that, you're like, all right, just gotta get my thing, get that property going.
Yeah, right, right. But then when you told me about like the pros and the cons of doing Section 8 in out of states compared to in California, bro, it made so much sense. You just planted the idea and then over time I thought about it and then I was like, the seed grew and I was like, yeah, it makes more sense. Especially with the down payment compared in Ohio compared to California, bro, it's like it just made way more sense. It was kind of like common sense at that point.
That makes sense, man. Now I got you. And then in that regard, what kind of surprised you the most with it with working with me and the team that we have that's orchestrating everything? Is it kind of like the fact that you fucking were in a position where there was a lot of speed, punctuality? Was it like the fact that it wasn't as hard as you thought it was going to be, or what kind of surprised you the most, bro?
I think it was just the communication was on point 100%. How you explained everything was pretty on point as well. I think I think it's just doing the work, like taking it day by day, being able to accomplish what you can accomplish by the day, and then just going from there, just creating that small snowball effect.
Yeah, and controlling the controllables, bro. That's why I remember I was always telling you that. I was like, look, like don't worry about that yet. Like we're here.
Right.
Uh, and you were in a position where you were knocking out. You're obviously getting your business credit. You were opening the bank account. You were transferring. You were like, because bro, from when we jump started, which is probably around like March 1st, something around like that. So
Yeah.
like now, bro, how much do you feel like you change as like just an overall person? Not even just a bit. Like you can say fuck the rental, right? In terms of
Yeah.
just like personal, based off of the action you took to circle you around, and also just pulling the trigger, bro. Like, how do you feel like you've changed just as a person from going on zero to being a Section 8 real estate investor, bro?
For sure, just knowing that I'm able to do everything that I want to do, definitely confidence booster, 100%, because it's like I have to do this, and then once you actually sit down and do the work and accomplish each task day by day, like slowly you start getting into that confidence of like you can do anything that you write down and tell yourself that you're gonna do. That one was huge for sure because after working like it was just a couple of weeks that it took from getting like everything together to then signing the what was it, the notary.
Signing with a notary, bro. Yeah, it was only a matter of a couple of weeks, and you went from ground zero, bro. You were like, oh, like, what is the whole Section 8 thing? I was like, this is what it is. Boom. From not knowing what Section 8 was in full, because you obviously had an understanding of what it was, like semi. So
Right.
I'm a landlord, bro, which was
Dang, yeah, bro. That and it was fast too. It was fast, but like I said, if you take action and you're doing your what you're supposed to be doing every single day, just pushing the needle forward little by little, like it's just a matter of time, bro. Like, you know,
and just so people don't think we're full of it, dude. Like, let me freaking show this what it was. Like, we go to this group chat. You go, that's Diego closing, 19-year-old, bro. You got boom a first payout before your rental increase, just $1,000 boom hit, and that's just
yeah,
guaranteed, bro. You can chill it. And
it's guaranteed.
that shit was what, like a couple days after you had at close. Literally like a couple days after you closed. No, it was like boom, just
Less than a
changing
week for
names.
sure. Yeah, less than a
It was
week.
tight. Less than a week, you got paid out already, and that's before the rental increase. You get the rental increase, and you're chilling. You roll it over to the next unit, and then
Right, 100%.
first first met me, and we were sitting down right there at Honeycup. What was like your goal in regards to just from moving that point to like obviously moving forward? In terms of like buying properties, bro, like because everyone's different, right? Some people come to me like, I just want to go buy a couple. Some people come to me, they want to buy 100. Like, where were you
Mhm.
kind of at, bro? To show people that there's different goals. You don't have to be the person that wants to buy 100. You could buy a couple and be chilling and do your thing. Like,
Yeah,
where was you? Or you could be the person that could buy 100. You know, show people that at all ranges of the spectrum in regards to their goals, they could be helped. You know.
yeah. I think at that moment, I was like, I'm gonna just buy this first property and see what it's all about, and then I'm gonna jump to Bakersfield and buy property over there. But now that I've accomplished my first property in Ohio, bro, low-key, I don't even want to buy in Bakersfield right now. Like, I don't want to buy in Bakersfield because the down payment over there compared to in Ohio, I could just buy five in Ohio with the same down payment that I'd use for one property in California. And it's not even a guaranteed like cash flowing appreciation. I I think I'm gonna stick to Ohio, buy a handful over there, and then jump to California and play with the big boys.
That's the same route that we're taking, man. Because buying in California, that unit we have that's we're closing on 740,000. If you bought 20% down on that, that's 140 racks, bro. No, that's without fees and all of the above. $140,000, and it's like,
Repairs, closing costs,
so
bruh.
it's good that you're in a position where, like I said, you learn with minimal risk and to grow up, as opposed to like boom, and you're like, oh shit, what's happening? But
Right.
uh, how would you say it was? I wanted to because ask Diego this question too, in terms of speed of shit getting done, like working with me, like response time, all the above. Because like if you could rate 1 to 10 in terms of how fast I was responding to get things done that you needed.
Bro, you're responding fast, bro. There was sometimes I text you at midnight or like 1, 2 in the morning. I didn't even expect you to reply. Then, bro, you would reply, and I'd be like, all right, bro. Like, this guy's clearly like he's on the same mission. Like having the same integrity as just two people having the same integrity, bro. Like that says a lot. Like you're getting somewhere if you're working with people like that. I think communication was definitely key. But another thing that I liked about working with you is that like you would tell me like, yo, post content, post content. sometimes I wouldn't do it until I finally started posting content. So you were consistently on me, like, and I think that's what people need is that push. So I think that's something that stuck out for me.
Because a lot that touches into a good question I was gonna ask next. Like in terms of alongside obviously the whole business side, the personal friendship, all of the above. Like what things do you feel like you learned from being in the program, being around obviously me and the connects that you think are transferable to help you in the future? Is it like just business credit? Is it like the content side? Is it the running the knowing how to run numbers? Like making connections. Like what would you say alongside just the property kind of helped you out through the whole process? Of obviously working in this time frame.
I think the community, just because it's like I'm not the only one in this position. There's many other people that are in the same position or I've already accomplished what I've done. So it was easier to just ask somebody a question. But also, you connected me with everybody that I needed, which was the realtor, the loan, the property manager. So it kind of got me like I got a little used to like kind of doing it on my own, not expecting you to like hold my hand through the whole exact process, but if I needed the help, you knew exactly where I was at and you knew exactly what I was needing to do, like the
Yeah,
next step.
at midnight, boom, respond the same text. You're like, it's like you text it and then boom, right after you're like, oh shit, what the fuck? You're still typing the next message. You still
Yeah.
got your help if needed, bro. And what would you tell someone, bro, that it was in a position to where you were when we chopped it up at Honeycutt, bro? Would you tell them if you could put it into like a list of three? If they're either in a similar position or maybe they're just a young business owner, bro, that's like, oh, I want to start, moving my money around. Because if it's not growing, it's dying.
You know what I think that was big for me is like, bro, like when you're gonna start like a new, I like to call it project. I don't like to say I'm gonna start a new business. I like to say project. But when I started this project, bro, I didn't tell nobody. I only told a couple of my friends, but because they're like, they're like me, they're out trying to they're trying to start a business, or they're trying to look where to invest or what industries are like uprising. And I told a handful of people, and there was always people that trying to put fear into my project. So I stopped telling the certain people, and the people that were like rooting for me to do it. They were the only ones that were telling me like, "Oh, you should do it, do it, do it." But other people were trying to implement fear. So as soon as I felt the fear, I just stopped talking to them about it, and I didn't say nothing about it until after I finished it. And now the same people that were implementing fear into my project, now they're like, "Yo, like, oh, help me do it. Like, how'd you do it?" Asking me all these questions. So I think not telling many people what you're working on until it's finally finished, because
That's a
I
good
think
one.
if I wasn't mentally strong, I would have let that fear mess with my decision making, and who knows, I probably wouldn't be here. I probably wouldn't have my property.
That's 100. That's valid, bro. That's super valid, and I like that mindset too. And with that regard, bro, do you feel like if you were in a position where, like, obviously, remember Baker's didn't work out because of what the lender had said. If you started from ground zero, same resources, do you feel like this is something you would be able to do by yourself if you had no connections, just no idea what the
Bro,
hell you're doing?
100%. I'm already thinking about the second about buying a second property, but 100%, maybe taking my time a little bit more, getting to understand the numbers, and looking more into the property of like what to look out for, what's not that big of a deal. Like finding tenants. That's something that I didn't really have to worry about much, just because we just continued with the same tenants that were living there before.
In the database. So yeah, it's good that like now you have the skill set, you have the resource, you know what to do, and moving forward. And if you went
Mhm.
back to where you were starting from zero, and you were in a position where, like I said, when we had first shopped at the Honeycup, and you didn't have those resources, you didn't have access to one on one with me, do you feel like you'd be able to do it by yourself, or you think it would have been fucking way harder?
Nah, 100%. Nah, I don't think I would have been able to do it on my own. Just because you already gave me like the connections, and then you gave me a full background of what it is, and then you were straightforward with it, the pros and cons.
Yeah,
And
I
there's
was telling
way more pros than cons.
yeah, the cons is like I've always told people was appreciation and maybe just if someone wants to touch the property, it's like, but you don't need to touch it, bro. Like, who gives a fuck? Buy it, boom, back of the mind, buy the next one. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
that's why it's like You know, and then what would you say is next for you, bro? I know you mentioned you know the process. You're like, I want to buy, and you want to go and acquire more units. Do you feel like actually going through it and you're like, okay, this is not as hard as it being? Change your mind, your perspective of like what would you say is next for you if you could paint out the next 6 to 12 months from someone that went from zero to getting their first property within, I don't know, maybe uh, fucking, I can count on my hands how many weeks it was.
Right. My next goal would be to obviously buy another one, and by the end of the year have at least three. If not by the end of this year, but by the end of next year, I would like to have a total of five properties.
Oh, you
Just
will, bro.
because now I understand what is needed, and then using the no docs loan, it just makes it way more easier on the entry level, and then negotiating on the property. I think that was a big plus. So yeah, I think buying the next property using less of my money now that I also learned about business credit and actually how the bank works. It just makes more sense. It just
Buy, borrow, die, bro. Buy, borrow, die. That's
yeah.
that version. That's the name of the game. Yeah, no, bro. It's good that you have that goal and you're gonna hit it, bro. You're gonna fucking surpass it with the action you're taking, bro. You're gonna surpass it more fucking tenfold. And you'll be in a position you have fucking 3, 5, 10, 15 units, bro. Boom, 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 boom.
And all cash flowing, all of them cash flowing,
And
bro.
then,
Like
bro, you're in a position where you have the context, the guidance to help everybody be that's in a position where they're just starting out. Like you have fucking Freddie like on the group call, so you could give experience with context to the people that are on there that haven't had the property yet. Like this kid Christian I just onboarded today. Uh, there's plenty of other individuals, bro, that could also help have your assistance. And just in regards to what would you say alongside obviously someone that's on the fence, if you could put it in terms of like maybe 2 to 3 pillars, like what would you say to someone alongside them just obviously taking action if they're like, oh, Section 8's a scam, Section 8, it's out of state, like what would you tell them alongside what you had previously told them in terms of just getting off of that fence and taking action upon it? Because you told them don't tell anybody, but to get off of that fence, what would you tell them?
well, I could just start off by saying that Section 8, I like to compare it to like food stamps, you know. It's a guaranteed your food stamp card is gonna get money at the beginning of every month. And the positive is that I always say the tenant's not paying me, the government is paying me the rent. So compared to like California, you're always at the edge of like, the tenant could always just not pay you, and then you have to go through all the trouble of trying to kick them out, and it takes months, and then you have to put in that mortgage payment for like however long it takes, and the mortgage payments over here are not nothing compared to Ohio, bro.
Yeah, they're expensive, bro.
Like over here it's 5 to 6 thousand a month. In Ohio, let's just say for instance, you miss out on 1 month, it's only like $1,000 or like 1,500
Max. Yeah, like six
max.
hundred bucks, bro. $600 or something
Yeah.
like that.
Like you
Yeah,
can
I know.
afford to take an L that small, but if you do it correctly, bro, you can't take no loss. It's kind of impossible to lose if you do it correctly.
No, 100%. No, it's good that you're telling them, look, you be in a position, take the right step in terms of less risk, take the action upon it, and you'll be chilling on that regard. Damn, bro, it seems trippy, dude. Because like I said, it wasn't that long ago. Like it really wasn't. This
Nah.
fucking even, bro. Like when I first met you in January. You were doing your thing. I was like, all right, do your thing. These are what I'm doing. Boom. You sat on it. You did your due diligence. You took action upon it. And you're fucking killing it, bro. And then you're in a position where you don't even give a fuck about the property anymore. And that, like in a non PG-13 way, you're like, I just want the next one. And that's like
Yeah,
a good mindset to have, bro.
bro. I mean, it's just a good feeling knowing like you accomplished something, and then it gives you the more motivation to like get another one just because you're craving that feeling the first property gave you, like the feeling of success of like accomplishing, especially when you're like everybody in the community is super young. I'm 25, and Diego's 19, bro. He already bought his first property,
It's a trip.
so.
And he's from Oxnard too.
And
And
he's
that
from
leads me to
Oxnard.
my last question, bro, because I know you got to do your thing too. What would you say was like what some of the main things and the main reasons why you decided to work with us as opposed to like working with some other Section 8 program? that's online, bro. Like there's plenty of other programs online, and some of them are good too. Like, what was kind of your things that you're like, oh, like I'll rather just work with him and get things done.
Honestly, it was that one, I met you in person, for sure. I had to know you in person. Two, we're from the same city, man. It was super surprising when we met each other at the networking event, because we don't expect people from our city to be like at events in LA, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And that was those two major things that I met you in person. Oh, a third one. I met you in person. We're from the same city, and bro, like, yeah, you're young. I could just be like, nah, he's too young. I could say, he doesn't know anything, or I'm older than him, so I'm assume I know more. But bro, you have properties to back it up, you know.
I
So
mean,
I think those
there's
three were big.
a lot of people that go and preach online, but then they either own no property or they fucking showboat about shit that they never done, or like
Yeah.
they talk in hypothetical sense, but it's like that hypothetical knowledge only take you so far, bro. That's like what you said about those people's opinions. They don't deposit at the bank, so don't worry about them. You know.
Exactly, yeah, bro. So I think those were big, bro. I think that your portfolio speaks for itself. Like, you know, obviously you know what you're doing, so it wouldn't make sense why not to follow your same footsteps or blueprint.
And you leveled up on all regards, bro. You got we connected you with Joe, we connected with Tilson, with Eladio, like fucking everything, bro. And then I was talking about like it's not just obviously the money in, money out. Like I told you about the three pillars, time and energy. Alongside that, credit. You're also talking about like, bro, we were talking about the politics side, like that influences everything. Like people don't talk about that. People don't want to talk about that, but it's like no, you have to know. You know, that's not knowledge you have to have.
Right.
Uh, because it influences everything, bro. Like you know, you like the quote that we said, bro. If you do not watch the news or you don't keep up to date with politics as an investor on real estate, it's like a farmer never looking at the weather, bro. Like you have to.
No, exactly, bro. Exactly.
You leveled up on all regards being around us, bro, and it's only the beginning. So I hope that, well, not that I hope, I know that in the next 6, 12 months, maybe even sooner, there's gonna be another fucking video like this where you have 3, 5, 10, 15 fucking units and shit, bro. I personally would want you to surpass me, bro, because that's the whole goal, bro. I want everybody in the group to do better than me, bro. Like genuinely do
Right.
better than me. And Diego already is. Diego already fucking surpassed, bro.
Oh,
He's already
19, bro. Hey, I
and
that's
he
wild.
just turned 19. He just
He,
turned 19.
yeah, bro. See, I can. He's gonna have multiple properties.
He
Yeah, I
just
already.
turned 19, bro. About a month ago, like a month and a half. He
Damn,
just turned 19.
damn, bro.
Just
That's
fucking nuts,
right.
bro.
Our communities, hey, the community's full of like youngins. Like they're young and they're hungry, bro.
Doing their thing and they don't give a fuck about what anybody has to say. 'Cause it don't help you. But
Yeah.
shit, my boy, I want to give you opportunity to do this because I know people are going fuck with what you're standing for or what you're doing. If you have any socials that you want to shout out, where people can find you, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everything, because I know you're posting your stuff. You're big on fitness, you're big on faith, and you're also big on getting things done on all aspects. So if you hit your socials, do your plug, have people hit you up, and besides that, I'll just wrap it up, bro. Right after you plug yourself up.
You guys could follow me on Instagram at a_Beltran and number 5. A_Beltran 5. That's my
Oh,
Instagram, and I'm gonna start posting there more reels, and just talk about my experience as a first time homeowner. So this should be a good journey, bro.
TikTok's the same thing.
Yeah, TikTok is the same thing. On TikTok, I post more fitness, but I'm also trying to get comfortable with the camera and speaking like face to it, and just talking more about it, my experience and my plans and goals, and stuff that other people could already start applying to their life as well, like life insurance, bro. Like that one's a crazy game.
That's crazy. That's another thing that I didn't talk about. Us telling you like pulling from it, boom, boom, like that people don't talk about that in real estate. They're just like, oh, buy it and rent it out, and it's like, okay, but what about getting creative with it so you can do more things?
Bro, yeah, and you plugged me up with the life insurance too, bro. I'm already waiting. I'm waiting for the day that I could borrow against it.
I told you, I'm looking at I have the calendar right there. I'm like, as soon as this day hits, boom,
Bro, we're borrowing against it.
bro, and grow both at the same time. But I appreciate you. Tell my boy, I'm gonna wrap this up. Obviously, I'm gonna still chop it up with you a little bit after this. But for everybody that's watching this, so Alexis Beltran, first time investor, is taking this shit to the moon.